The need for creed.
Dajjal, the antichrist, his rise and demise. Hugo Chavez recently accused the US of triggering the earthquake in Haiti by weather-modifying HAARP rays. However, very soon there will arise a man who will cause tremors, droughts, rains, and even warp the length of days. Once, with a crew of 30 Yemeni tribesmen, a formerly Christian companion called Tamim ad-Dari set off to sea, but unforeseen storms battered their ship for a month and they strayed off course, losing all bearings eventually. Ending up in uncharted waters, their ship drew near a strange land, which they sighted as the sun began to set. So a group ventured off in a lifeboat, hoping to procure provisions, but were alarmed by the beast that they met. As they set foot on the shore and moved inland, they were halted by a creature who with thick hair was cloaked. They couldn't tell its front from its back, and frightened, they asked what it was, and to their amazement, it spoke. They said, "Woe to you! What are you?" "I am Al-Jassasa, the spying scout," she replied, looking devilishly gory. Without further ado, she said, "O people, go to the man in the temple ruins, for he eagerly waits to hear your story." Fearfully, they left, making their way to the temple ruins, where they came across the biggest man they'd ever seen. He was tied up in iron chains, binding his hands to his neck and ankles to his knees, and his purpose they'd soon glean. He questioned the Arab sailors to obtain information of them and how they ended up on the island being thrown. When they asked who he was, he said he would tell them later, after he received answers to questions of his own. He asked, "Tell me about the date trees of Baisan near Scythopolis in Jordan, and whether they still bear dates." When they replied affirmatively, he startled them, saying, "Soon they will bear no fruit," and continued his debates. Then he asked, "Tell me about Lake Tiberias, or the Sea of Galilee, and whether its water levels are still high." When they replied it had plenty of water in it, he startled them again, saying, "Soon it will disappear and run dry." Then he asked about the spring of Zugar, either Wadi al-Safi in Jordan or a town near Syria's Aleppo, and its use. But when they told him that it still had lots of water from which people grew plants, he didn't comment on the news. He moved on eagerly, wanting to know about the progress of the prophet who was sent to the Arabs, being unread. When they told him that he, peace be upon him, had migrated from Mecca to Medina, "Did the Arabs fight against him?" he said. They said yes, so he asked of the outcome, and they replied, "The prophet, peace be upon him, gained victory, and they gave pledge." He seemed amazed, and said, "It is better for them to follow him. And now concerning me, I will give you knowledge. I am the false Messiah, and soon I will be given permission to appear and move through the earth in 40 days. I will enter every village except Mecca and Tayyibah, where I will be prevented by angels guarding access pathways." After his conversion, Tamim ad-Dari told the Prophet, peace be upon him, about the event, who confirmed what he said was true. He added that Tayyibah was Medina, and they had witnessed Dajjal, who would appear from the east and pass through. He, peace be upon him, said Dajjal will appear in Isfahan, in Iran, in a fit of rage, wreaking havoc during 40 days of warped duration. His first day would be like a year, the second like a month, the third like a week, before returning to normalization. The companions, peace be upon them all, worried about their 5 prayers during that year-like day, and were told to pray by estimation. It's a shame that many Muslims don't even pray nowadays, and yet still claim to be part of Allah's balanced nation. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said Dajjal would be a big, strapping, sailor-man-y youth, with a curved back and broad-chested too. He will be wheat-colored, with branching curly hair and a wide forehead, pigeon-toed, initially claiming to be a Jew. He will be distinguished by having one eye, blind in his right eye, the other one like a floating grape, glassy green. Every believer will read kafir or apostate between his eyes. If you can't, then you've lost your religion or deen. He'll pass through lands that obey him and cause rains and vegetation to grow. Treasures will follow him like bees. He'll have mountains of food and drink for followers, but cause drought for rejectors, bringing them to their knees. He'll be followed by 70,000 Jews wearing Persian shawls, Mongol Turks, Arab Bedouins, and a large female contingent. Having rejected Jesus and Muhammad, peace be upon them, Jews will take him as a Messiah and finally God, so we must be stringent. With bloodlust for Jerusalem's third temple, some Jews await Moshiach ben David's resurrection from the east. But also alarming is what Shia books say about their cave-hidden Mahdi and what he will do when he is released. For the record, all 11 Imams were pious and innocent from the godlike status given to them by the Rafida of Iran, but the invented 12th Imam never existed. However, is it a coincidence that he is due to appear enraged in Isfahan? Recently, Ahmadinejad gave millions to expand Jamkaran Mosque in Isfahan, where he claims Al-Mahdi will appear. He also said that Al-Qaim controls worldly affairs. Shia drop requests into his well. Surely shirk blatantly clear. Just as Prophet Jesus was mutated into the Son of God by Saul of Tarsus or St. Paul under Roman protectorate, during Islam's early days it was infiltrated by a Jew called Abdullah ibn Saba, who claimed Ali was God incarnate. One of his beliefs was that Ali would be resurrected as Allah, so Ali burnt all of Ibn Saba's followers at the stake. Ali was enraged by the polytheism or shirk uttered about him. But will Iran's 12ers repeat the same mistake? Shia call him Al-Askari, in occultation and alive for millennia, like Dajjal. Some even say they visited Al-Qaim. Appearing at a time of famine, he'll have tasty food, control time as Imam al-Zaman, and be infallible, they claim. The Shia Mahdi will speak Hebrew, use Solomon's rule, which the Prophet, peace be upon him, forbade, and Al-Jafar Talmud to teach. He'll resurrect and execute the companions, including Abu Bakr and Omar, peace be upon them, by using jinn, and evil he will preach. He'll have Fatima's, peace be upon her, Mushaf, revealing 2/3 more verses than the Quran, and rivers flowing with honey and milk. He'll send his enemies to his hell, be followed by loose women, Bedouin Shia, Jews, and Salafi haters and their ilk. They claim Al-Qaim will show up with prophets and angels, including Al-Khidr and Jesus, peace be upon him, as a subservient guest. Descriptions of Dajjal match the antichrist Jewish Moshiach, as well as the Shia Mahdi, but only Allah knows best. The real Mahdi will be born in the era and appear in Mecca, named Muhammad ibn Abdullah from Fatima's, peace be upon her, line. But the good news is that he will re-establish the caliphate 7 years before Dajjal to get ready for Jesus' time. Just as Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sent to the good-hearted amongst depraved Arabs, Allah will send Mahdi to his kind. Mahdi and his helpers will be opposed and wars will occur before victory, but to the Salafi way will Muslims bind. Soon, many Muslims will migrate to Asham and Jerusalem as the righteous caliphate flourishes, bringing peace, where Salahuddin once bricked up the Golden Gate so that the Dajjal's grand entry would humiliatingly cease. Prevented from Medina, Dajjal will camp at red dunes near Mount Uhud and call Masjid Nabawi a white palace. He'll strike the ground in his tent, causing 3 earthquakes that will force out hypocrites and purge the callous. There he will be allowed to saw a pious martyr in two and rejoin him to fool the people into taking him to be a god. Medina will have 7 gates or pathways then. 6 ring roads link it today, but Jesus will kill him at the gate of Lod. Jesus or Isa, peace be upon him, will descend from the sky with angels in Syria's Umayyad mosque. Returning as he left, aged 33, he will request the Mahdi to lead Fajr prayer before taking the Muslim command and stop the Dajjal's evil calamity. With might, Jesus, peace be upon him, will chase the Dajjal and strike him with his spear, shaking it to show his blood on its blade. The Dajjal will disintegrate as salt, and even a rock or tree will expose the Shi'atul Dajjal, as Allah will be obeyed. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said the Dajjal would appear amongst a group who would label Muslims and the companions apostate. He said just like Persian Magians of the Ummah, the Shi'atul Dajjal would deny Al-Qadr, pre-decree or fate. If you follow the Quran and Sunnah, you'll know what to say and do to protect yourself against Dajjal's harm, including the supplication said at the end of each prayer and the first 10 verses of Surah Kahf in the Quran. The Prophet, peace be upon him, advised us not to debate with Dajjal, and if forced into his fire, to do it, for you'll enter paradise. But few will have such faith, whereas many will be attracted to his sensual delights and face degenerate demise. The sad thing is that even as signs are coming true, just like the Dajjal's method, truth and falsehood have switched. But just as the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us that we should ignore Dajjal's tempting illusions, many are already bewitched. Fear-mongering media and politicians are hell-bent on attacking Salafis for ignorant masses to despise the truth, doing the devil's bidding. They want a secular world government to usher in the reign of the one-eyed super youth. The Prophet, peace be upon him, left us many details about the antichrist Dajjal with lucid clarity by revelation sent from on high. He foretold Dajjal would appear when he's ignored during Friday sermons, like nowadays. Indeed, the end is nigh.